Carol.
Hi, welcome back, everyone.
Right?
We have decided we're very persistent. If there were persistent awards, we would be getting them, I think, today. So, yes, welcome back. And I have a few more questions for you, Patty, so we will get to those. You had mentioned the short story Gray, and you have written several short stories in the past, and I guess a few novellas. There haven't been as many of those.
One novella. So,
Oh, just the one. Okay. Well, but can you kind of tell us what you feel is what are some of the challenges about working in that shorter form as opposed to the longer form for you as a novelist?
Yeah, I think I'm happy to admit I'm a novelist. That's why my answers to questions tend to take a long time and kind of get there by varying routes. But I've always looked at. I am not a good short story writer. I can do them on a pinch. Novellas take me as long as it takes me to write a novel. But I've always had this idea that I've been using for a while. I like to liken writing to ice skating. So poetry is those compulsory figures where they have to get out on the ice and they're drawing pictures on pure ice. And it's really important that they are on the inside of their blade or the outside of their blade as they're coming around this circle or that circle, and that their toe mark is exactly 1 inch outside. All of those are really important. And that's like poetry. Every syllable, every white space, every letter is important in a poem. Every one. There is no such thing as something thrown away. And in a short story is sort of more like it's more like the long program where they get out there and they do these beautiful leaps and jumps and spins. And occasionally, even like an Olympic gold medalist will, on their medal winning round, will have a fall. But as long as the leaps and the jumps and the spins are beautiful enough and things, that's okay. So they can have a few things wrong, but most everything counts. It's really important. Novel writing is more like a hockey game where it's important that you get down to the goal. And it's all okay. It doesn't matter how many blubs you make, how many times you fall on the ice. What's important is there's enough teeth and blood and hair on the ice by the time you make it down to the goal. And that's novel writing. And I'm a novelist. I do better in that kind of field. I'm not the perfect writer. My prose can be adequate, but it is not perfect. So I'm a hockey player.
Well, my question then, and that's a really cool comparison. So when it comes to actually watching the sport, do you watch hockey or figure skating or both?
Watch figure skating.
Same here. That's my thing. Although right. I've been to a couple of live hockey games that were fun, but yeah.
I've been reading a lot of hockey romances lately. I don't know what that is, but yeah, no.
Okay, well, there you go. I know there are some out there. Now, speaking of reading, that's a great segue into my next question, is what does your pleasure reading consist of? Do you read within your genre? Do you read lots of different kinds of things? How does that work for you?
Yeah, I read lots of different kinds of things. I'll be watching a show and go, hey, I've recently watching Ghost Hunters, and kind of like from the first season through the last season, and watching the evolution of that. So I've been reading a lot of ghost stories. Sometimes I will get in a mood for horror stories, not quite as often as usual, or as with other things, but sometimes I just need to scare myself really good. Or I will, I read a lot of romances, and I read a lot of romances because they are, I feel like my brain can take a rest. And it's not that it's not that there's not really good technical romance books out there. It's for some reason, the way they're written makes me just relax into the story. So I read a lot of romances, but if I read a romance that has kind of a Western-y theme, and then I'll read like a whole bunch of Zane Greys or Louis L'Amours or that kind of stuff. So I just all over the board. My go-to reads, the ones I can pick up and read anytime, are like Lois McMaster Bujold's science fiction Her fantasy is wonderful, but it's her science fiction that just transports me into a new world. I have to be careful with Tolkien, because if I read Tolkien, I have to read the whole of the Lord of the Rings, and most things I read really fast, but Lord of the Rings, for some reason, I read really slow. It takes me about, normally something that long would take me like a day and a half, and it'll take me 3 or 4 days. I just savor every word. So yeah,
Right.
a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and Tolkien, you can kind of get sucked into. I think it's easy to do that. So
Every time I read him, I see something different. I used to skip over the first part of it where he talks about what different families of hobbits were good for, and I've taken enough notes and taught enough classes on Tolkien now that I'm fascinated by the hobbit lineages. So it's just, yeah.
Yeah, you're all set. All you got to do is pull out those notes, and there
Right.
you go.
Right.
Now, as far as my last question for you goes, and it's something that I'm always just very curious about, and I get different answers from everyone pretty much, is do you prefer absolute quiet, or more or less quiet when you write, or do you like to have some kind of background sound going on at the time?
I need background sound. If it's absolute quiet, I live on a farm. If it's absolute quiet, I think, who died? What's scaring all the animals? What's wrong? I usually have a music track running, and it's got to be music track of things that I have listened to and enjoyed enough that I don't pay attention to them anymore. If something good comes up and I have to stop, like if Take Me to Church, Hoosiers Take Me to Church comes on, I have to stop and listen to it. Whereas, and my music list is everything from Pavarotti into, opera, to folk songs, to filk songs, and if you don't know what filk, you know what filk is, but if your dear listener does not know what filk is, look it up, F-I-L-K. And basically Weird Al Yankovic is a filk singer, the only one who makes a living at it, I think, but So to modern pop, to jazz, to hard rock, to like seriously hard rock. I don't do screamo and I don't do rap, but anything in between, even country, I can do.
Oh, okay. Just depends on the mood. Do you find that whatever you're listening to, do you find that what you choose to listen to is kind of governed by what you're writing at the time, or does what you're listening to kind of influence what you write?
What I listen to influence what I write, which is why I'm really careful not to listen to whole albums anymore when I'm writing. I have a sometimes I use Spotify, but even that is a little bit too on point. I'd rather listen to a random mix. So my computer has, but yeah, so it just does a random mix so that I'm not listening to any one thing at the same time.
Okay. Now, I know everybody here would probably like to know this, but Winter Lost just came out. It's wonderful. People, by the time they see this, will probably have read it, but if they haven't, they need to immediately. But what can people look forward to next from you?
So I'm working now on the next Alpha and Omega. It's set in the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State. It's, which is Anna and Charles. And we finally get to see a little bit more about the baby Charles's brother dropped on their doorstep and ran off. So that's been in the wings since the end of the last Alpha and Omega book. Sparky, last Alpha and Omega book. Wild Sign. Sorry.
Yes.
I had to pull in the expert advice of my trusty assistant.
That's right.
Wrestling with my dog over here. So
the dog's winning.
The dog outweighs you. So yeah. So the end of Wild Sign, I have a kind of I did a mean thing and had Samuel drop a baby off with Charles and Anna with no further word. And I've had a lot of people ask me about it. I'm like, no, you have to wait till the next Alpha and Omega. So it's time.
Soon they will find out, right? Right.
Yes.
Well, Patricia, I so much appreciate you being willing to do this, and especially given some of the obstacles we've had to overcome, but we did persevere and get to the end of the interview despite the weather gods. I don't know. Did we really tick off Himmler or something? I don't know.
I don't know, or sunspots or something's going on. Yeah, it's the Fae. Anne says. Yes.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
We let Anne, my trusty assistant, sit too near the computers.
Oh, is that what happened? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well,
I'm sure.
I do appreciate you taking the time to do this. I very much look forward to when you're back in person with us at Con, but I hope you have a wonderful time. You will be overseas at the time that people actually get to watch this, and you have a perfectly good reason for not being with us this year. Given my recent travels, I can vouch for that, but we very much look forward to it, to seeing both you and Anne. Hi, Anne. And, and I hope that you have a lovely time. Thank you for all your wonderful stories and for taking the time here now with me. And we now have new stories, considering how many times we've gotten cut off by the weather gods, whoever they might be. Yes.
Right. Thank you, Carol.
Yeah.
Well, I will miss you. I'll think of you guys while we're over in Edinburgh, but I won't think of you for a long time. Have fun at Dragon Con. I always do. I'm looking forward to being back there next year.
Well, we look forward to that as well. Again, thank you so much. Thank you to all of our viewers, everyone who gets to see this. And we appreciate you as well for bearing with us through 3 different parts. So
I think it was from both sides. So I think thank you for your patience. So
absolutely. I feel honored. So thank you again. And we will see everyone either at Con or here virtually. Thanks very much, all.
Sounds good. Thanks, Carol. Bye.
Bye.